Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're doing something a little different. We're stepping away from the usual dense white papers.
Yeah, a bit of a change of pace.
Our source material is actually, well, it's pretty simple, a classic motivational story, you might have heard it, about a farmer and his 2 clay water pots.
Right. But we're not just here for the feel-good surface level stuff.
No, exactly. We're treating this narrative like a case study. Think strategic asset management, maybe purpose optimization.
Mm-hmm. And how things we see as liabilities, as weaknesses, can actually be, well, a unique advantage, a competitive edge even.
That's the goal. That's the mission for this deep dive. We want to really unpack the wisdom here, bypass the standard emotional take.
Yeah, look for the framework. Understand how resources, maybe even people, get undervalued because they don't fit the usual success metric, like pure efficiency in this case.
Okay, let's get into it. We've got the main characters. There's the farmer, hardworking guy, has this long walk every day to a well.
A really long walk. And he carries these 2 clay pots balanced on a stick across his shoulders.
And the pots themselves, they define the whole conflict, don't they?
Absolutely. On one side, you've got the perfect pot. Smooth, round, totally flawless. It's like the star asset.
Zero leakage.
Yeah.
100% efficiency getting water back home.
And it knows it. It's proud. Understandably proud of doing its job perfectly.
But then there's the other one, the cracked pot.
Yeah, this one's got a flaw, a small crack, but it's persistent. It leaks.
So by the time the farmer gets back, maybe half the water is gone, just
Wow.
dripped out along the path.
Exactly, drop by drop. And this pot feels terrible about it. Huge amounts of shame because, well, by that simple measure delivering water, it's failing. Like 50% failure rate every single day.
And the conflict kicks off right away because of comparison.
Oh, yeah. The perfect pot isn't quiet about its perfection. It apparently mocks the cracked pot constantly.
Calling it useless, a burden.
Right, because it's applying just one standard containment. How much water do you hold?
Okay.
And judging the other pot entirely by that.
Which must have been brutal. And the cracked pot just soaks it all up, internalizes it.
Mm-hmm. Day after day, hearing that it's wasting the farmer's effort, wasting the water, the shame just builds and builds.
Until it hits a breaking point. It actually speaks to the farmer.
Yeah, apparently crying, tears mixing with the leaking water, confessing, "Master, I'm so sorry, I'm broken, I'm worthless." Just laying it all out there.
Okay, pause there. Because the farmer's response is coming, but you raised a point earlier. If the farmer knew about the crack the whole time.
Which the story implies he did.
Right. So why let the perfect pot keep up the taunting? Why let the cracked pot carry that shame for what sounds like a long time?
It's an interesting question, isn't it? About management style, maybe. Was he teaching the perfect pot something about humility or waiting?
Waiting for the cracked pot to reach this point, this moment of vulnerability.
Possibly. Because the farmer's reaction isn't what you'd expect. It's incredibly gentle, kind even.
Yeah, it suggests he had a plan all along. It wasn't just random kindness. He doesn't scold it, doesn't get angry, certainly doesn't throw it away.
No, instead he promises something. A revelation. He says something like, "Tomorrow I'll show you something and you'll never feel useless again."
Which is a huge promise. He's basically saying, your metric for failure, it's wrong. It's irrelevant to your real purpose.
Exactly. He's confirming its value exists, just not where the pot thinks it does.
So that sets up the next part perfectly. The farmer's foresight, the big reveal. The next morning, they do the usual trek to the well.
But on the way back, the farmer tells both pots, "Look carefully. Look at the sides of the path."
And what they see is, well, it's starkly different on each side.
Totally different. On the cracked pot side of the dusty path, beautiful flowers, blooming, colorful, covered in dew.
Wow. And on the perfect pot side.
Just dust, dry earth, maybe a few scattered stones. Nothing growing, just barren.
So this is the visual proof, right? Efficiency isn't the only game in town.
Precisely. The cracked pot sees this, and the story says it gasps. It's amazed. But, that shame is probably still there, lingering.
It's hard to shake off, even when you see the beauty. It might still be thinking, yeah, but look at all that water I wasted.
And isn't that just like us sometimes? We can struggle to see the value we create, especially if it's an unintended consequence of something we see as a flaw, even when it's right there.
But the farmer connects the dots. He gives the analytical breakdown. He reveals his secret.
He says, "I've always known about your crack, my friend, right from the start." He confirms it wasn't a surprise. The flaw was known. More than known, actually.
Instrumental.
Yes, he explains his strategy. Months before, he deliberately planted flower seeds but only along the crackpot side of the path.
Ah, so the leaking water wasn't wasted, it was targeted irrigation.
Exactly, drop by drop, day after day. That inefficiency was precisely what was needed to bring life to that barren stretch of road. It was precision delivery.
So the perspective just flips entirely. The crack wasn't a defect, it was a feature. It enabled a completely different kind of value.
A secondary value stream, you could say. The beauty, the joy it brought to travelers, the fragrance, all of it existed only because that pot failed at its primary job of just holding water.
It's kind of a lesson in resource management, isn't it? The farmer saw potential where others just saw a flaw.
Absolutely. He's an astute manager. He knew the inefficient asset, the cracked pod, was perfectly suited for a niche purpose. A purpose the perfect asset, the efficient pot, could never fulfill.
Yeah, the perfect pot was almost too good at its job to accidentally create beauty like that.
Right. It needed the flaw.
Okay, so this brings us to the next stage, connecting all this, the strengths, the weaknesses, the purpose. What happens when the perfect pot hears this explanation?
Its whole attitude changes. Instantly. The arrogance just melts away.
It realizes its mistake.
Completely. It sees its own blindness. It admits, apparently with real humility, that while it was so busy being proud of its own efficiency,
Yeah, its own internal metric.
its companion, the one it mocked, was actually creating tangible external value, real beauty, something it was structurally incapable of doing itself. And it apologizes, genuinely sorry for being cruel.
That's a big shift. The whole basis for comparison just evaporates.
It does. And then the farmer lays out the core wisdom. We can almost translate this into like a management framework.
Okay, let's try that. Framework point 1.
Universal imperfection.
Huh.
The farmer says something like, nobody in this world is perfect. We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. That right there removes perfection as the benchmark.
The point. Okay, point 2.
Specialized value. He validates both pots, but for their unique functions. The perfect pot is vital, essential for clean drinking water, cooking water, the foundational need.
Right. Serves the primary purpose.
But the crack pot serves an equally important, though totally different, purpose.
Yeah.
Making the environment better, enhancing quality of life along that road. Its crack is its unique value proposition. It lets it succeed where the perfect one can't.
Makes sense. And point 3.
Complementary systems. This is crucial. The farmer explicitly says he needs both. If both were perfect, he says, I'd have plenty of water but no flowers. If both were cracked, I'd have flowers but not enough water to live.
Ah, so they complete each other. Their value isn't just in isolation, it's about how they fit together in the bigger picture.
Exactly. It makes comparing them directly kind of foolish once you understand their different roles. The perfect pot should be judged on efficiency against other perfect pots, the cracked pot, measured by the flowers it grows.
They're not rivals anymore, they're partners, essential parts of the farmer's whole operation.
And the story ends with them understanding this. From then on, the perfect pot carries its water humbly, and the cracked pot leaks its water with joy. The shame is replaced by purpose.
Okay, so let's bring this home. How does this analysis apply to, you listening?
Well, the analogy is pretty direct, isn't it? We're all probably a bit of both pots. We have parts of a skills, efficiencies that work well by standard measures, the perfect pot parts.
Sure, things we're trained in, things we're good at in a conventional sense.
But we also have our cracks, our vulnerabilities, the things we find difficult, maybe limitations we try to hide or fix.
And the core message here is about reframing those cracks, not seeing them just as liabilities, but maybe as specialized assets in disguise.
Yeah, we spend so much energy trying to patch the cracks, right? Trying to be perfectly efficient everywhere. But maybe sometimes that stops us from creating unique value.
It's like the very thing we're trying to eliminate might be the source of something unexpected and good.
Think about innovation. Often breakthroughs come from constraints, from failures. The crack forces a different approach. If the pot hadn't leaked, the farmer wouldn't have needed to plant those seeds there. He just optimized storage back at the farm. The flaw spurred the creative solution.
That's a great point. Our imperfections make us unique. The very thing you might be most embarrassed about, maybe a weakness, a non-standard way of thinking, could be what allows you to bring something special to the world.
Because it forces you to use your energy differently, in a specialized way. Maybe you're not the most organized person, for example.
Okay.
But maybe that crack in linear thinking allows you to connect ideas laterally, to be more creative in ways the super organized, perfect pots just can't manage.
So it's about shifting focus, not just hiding the crack, but figuring out how to use it.
Exactly. Leveraging whatever we have, cracks and all, to create something good, even if it's non-standard. It's about finding the purpose in the imperfection.
The farmer's wisdom seems to boil down to a couple of key takeaways for us, actionable
I
things.
think so. First, try not to judge people or yourself based solely on one metric, especially efficiency, or based on a visible flaw. Always look for that potential secondary value stream the crack might be enabling.
That's hard to do sometimes, but important. And the second,
Actively embrace your own imperfections. Maybe even experiment with them. Don't just accept them passively. Deploy them strategically. Ask yourself, okay, what unique purpose could this flaw serve?
hmm, find the flowers your crack could be watering.
You got it.
All right, that wraps up our deep dive into this surprisingly strategic little story. The big finding seems clear. Real value isn't about being universally perfect. It's about having a unique purpose and understanding how different parts, even flawed ones, fit together to make the whole system work.
Yeah, the flawless and the flawed are both necessary. You need both for the full picture, for total success, for beauty and sustenance. You're needed, not just despite your cracks, but maybe sometimes because of them.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on, thinking like that former. Take a moment to consider what you see as your biggest limitation right now, personally or professionally. What specific flower seeds could you deliberately plant along that path? How could you maximize the unexpected specialized value that limitation might already be creating, even accidentally?
Something to think about. Start planting. Until next time.